Miami is a renowned city. Think of Miami, you probably think of yachts or beaches, beautiful people, abundant nightlife. There's so many things that Miami does, it conjures the imagination. You know, Miami is considered the financial capital of Latin America because it yields so much influence in all of the Americas.
But because Miami is our home base and our hometown, we get a chance to see the extraordinary growth, change, dynamism, diversity in our community that makes it an extremely exciting place to be. A fun place, a beautiful place, and an exciting place to be.
Culture in Miami is diverse. I grew up here from a very young age. I came here from Nicaragua. I wasn't even born here. And I think that's why I love Miami so much. This is the one place that you have a little bit of everything. All these cultures living amongst each other and working together.
Will Smith was right about Miami. There's no place like it. The heat is on here, but not just in the beautiful sunshine and the waving of the palm fronds and the amazing beach, so incomparable, but in terms of the people.
There's a story about two fish swimming together and another fish passes by and says, "Hey guys, how's the water today?" And he goes by and the fish look at each other and they say, "What's water?" And for the kids growing up here in Miami, diversity is the water. They don't even realize what a blessing it is. All the colors, the faces, the looks, the languages, the ethnicities.
Lo extraordinario de la ciudad de Miami es que cuando pienses en Miami vas a encontrar en cada esquina, literalmente en cada lugar, personas de toda cultura, con experiencias diversas, de todas las naciones y en mi caso particularmente, gente que habla mi idioma.
You know, Miami's the greatest city in the world. I mean, here we're sitting at the place where we gather for Miami Church. And on a typical Sunday, we have a couple hundred people, and you can have upwards of 30 or 40 different countries represented right here. I mean, literally from this spot, you could drive a mile in every direction and it's like going to a different culture, experience different cultures, different foods. There's no place in the world like this.
Every city has a personality, just like people do. Miami is this emotive, feeling kind of city. It's a key descriptor of the personality of this beautiful city that we live in. Especially when you see like TV shows and movies, we always see the clubs and the nightlife and the music scene.
You're gonna have tension, you're gonna have friction, but you're also gonna have a lot of movement and change and beauty. It's like a work of art taking place in the city of Miami that is being painted as the days go by.
As beautiful as Miami is, there seems to be this gravitational force pulling people apart, away from each other into isolation and breaking down our communities. And that's our greatest struggle.
The culture in Miami is about me. It's all about me. What can you do for me? It's not about anything but me.
The challenges for reaching the business and professional community in Miami really is that Miami is more of a post-Christian culture. It does not have the Christian memory that a lot of the communities and cities in the Bible Belt of America have.
Probably 96% of our population never darken the door of a church on any given Sunday.
I mean, think about this area. There are a lot of other things to do on a Sunday. There's a lot of other things to be involved in than in church. And so I find that most people just don't either have the time or want to make the time to be involved in any kind of church community.
With all the flavors and diversity that we have in the culture, in the city, we've taken a lot of that emotion and made that priority within the church to a point that we lack true Bible teaching and discipleship.
Commitment in Miami, oh man, it's so hard because in Miami it's just, yeah, I'll be at that. But really, it's just people don't want to say no. It's the polite way of saying, yeah, sure. But commitment is difficult. Transiency, the issues of people not staying in Miami but leaving so quickly, and then finances are hard for people down here because the only way that a lot of people know how to get through this is to band together, and so people are living together and banding together and scrapping any money they can, because that's what it means to get through it in life.
The challenges we face with youth is they're either at the highest high or the lowest low a lot of the time. And if you're at that low, you see the Maserati, the bottle service, the yachts going on the beach, and you feel like you're empty because you can't have that. It's just out of reach. But if you're that kid driving the new Maserati or on the yacht, you wonder, does anybody really love me?
And without getting rid of that emotion, without getting rid of that passion, because that is a part of our human experience, we do need to make sure that we are adequately, correctly teaching our disciples so that they can go out and be disciples of Jesus Christ.
When we first heard about Explore God coming to Miami, we were really excited because I have friends in Austin or Chicago or other places that have been part of the Explore God movement.
We cannot preach the gospel, we cannot serve as the church in our city without collaboration.
Apologetics, answering the hard questions, tackling the issues that really are stumbling blocks or that are obstacles to people's faith.
As a church plant, a lot of our people had those types of questions and sometimes are scared to ask them.
Youth have access to more information than they've ever had before, and with that comes more questions than they've ever had before. And so at Miami YFC, we were really excited when we saw the questions Explore God was going to answer using online platforms. We realized these match the questions that kids are asking us every day.
And so when James and I were talking about Explore God campaign and what was possible, I got very excited about being able to resource local churches and local leaders to host these discussion groups, these Explore God discussion groups to share in this sermon series. And so it was exciting because we saw many churches come together, many organizations come together to lead these groups, to share the sermon series. And to me, that was part of an effective groundwork.
I was excited to get involved in Explore God Miami because it was an opportunity to be involved in something that was not just a flash in the pan event, but a process of ministry opportunities that would involve the churches, that would involve the parachurch ministries, that would involve individual business and professional leaders to engage with the community.
Athletes in Action's goal is to help coaches, athletes, people impacted by sport figure out, how does God, life, and sport go together? How does that work? So when we had the opportunity to get together with Explore God Miami, we had to jump in.
So our city began a 7-week conversation addressing some of these big questions that we're all asking together. What was amazing was that we launched on Super Bowl Sunday when Miami was hosting the Super Bowl. The eyes of the world turned to our city yet again, and we were able to shift the conversation towards God. Millions of people were exposed to our billboards and our signs and our t-shirts and all of our efforts to make this campaign known. Even the Kansas City Chiefs CEO, Clark Hunt, found out about Explore God, and he gave a national shout out through a press release to support the campaign and encourage people to get involved.
We knew we wanted to have an impact for the kingdom of God. We knew that in order for us to be successful and to have that kind of impact, we were going to have to engage in serious prayer.
In my own company, I invited all of our employees to a luncheon to hear Dr. Sharon Dirks speak on Does Your Mind Matter? And understanding brain science and how that relates to spiritual truth and the presence of God in our creation. It was so unexpectedly touching to people in my company, my employees and officers of my company, that I got more thank yous and touching remarks from them after that event.
Well, why did we go with the sermon series that was suggested? The question that I would ask in response is, why not? I mean, the issues are precisely what people want to know about. And then, not only was it a sermon series or a message teaching opportunity from a platform over several weeks in a row, but it was an opportunity for us to dovetail our teaching and our training in groups.
It has been amazing to be a part of a community group where we have been leading half of a group of non-believers and people who are just seeking faith for the past 7 weeks. It's really allowed a ton of open dialogue and communication where people feel valued and their input is honest.
Miami Youth for Christ took charge of the training aspect of Explore God, and we developed a training and led that for over 600 people to become facilitators of the Explore God small groups, taking people through the 7 big questions in a way that was respectful. We taught people how to listen well, how to love people, even in the midst of their questioning. And we were really excited for this as a vehicle for the gospel across our city.
One of the celebrations that on the backside now that we saw was that the staff, the pastors, wrapped themselves around this at every age and stage of life. How do we help equip our people? And so we had this faith goal. We wanted to have 80 groups across all of our campuses that would be adult groups or teenage groups that could then cover the age groups for our church family. And I just spoke with our groups pastor today. He told me we maxed out 95 groups. I said, man, glory to God, because group is where it happens. Jesus had a group, you need a group, and that's where life change can happen. Equipping happens in a group.
Le damos gracias a Dios por Explore a Dios, porque todo lo que aprendimos lo estamos usando ahora mismo en estos tiempos difíciles.
Yes, en esta crisis ahora, a nosotros como pastores personalmente nos sentimos un poco mejor, porque sabemos que entramos a esto ya habiendo investigado y preparando el pueblo.
Explore God Miami has an outcome committee. And in this outcome committee, we're looking at a lot of issues that face Miami-Dade County, and they are vast and they are big. But we said if we get together as the Corporate Seed Church and look at these issues together, maybe, just maybe, we can eradicate, eliminate, and just take care of some of the things. We looked at addiction and human trafficking and incarceration. And then we looked at foster care and adoption, and we said, what if we started there? Because if these kids don't get forever homes, if they don't get adopted, if they don't get fostered, then there's going to be the rest of these issues that take place.
Almost 2 million people engaged with us on social media. 400,000 people clicked to find out more about the movement and how to connect. It was incredible. Not only that, but on week 2, one of the world's greatest spokespersons for Christianity, Ravi Zacharias, and his colleague Abdu Murray came and joined our city's conversation at an open forum on the existence of God. We sold over 7,000 tickets to have a conversation about God. It was incredible. 27,000 people from around the world tuned in. 600 people immediately wanted to find out more about how to have a relationship with God following the open forum at what we called the We All Wonder reception.
One of the stories from the open forum that also came into the reception is of a woman named Luna who grew up in a Muslim home and was wrestling with what it would mean to follow Jesus. What would that life look like? How would she walk with Christ, and who would walk with her? So into the open forum, she had her question, but afterwards she was surrounded with people to support her and volunteer to walk with her. And that was the beauty of these connections that happened as a result of this event.
And I think because of that, recently we challenged our group to start reading the Bible. And one of the friends, his name is Daniel, and he's a Venezuelan immigrant. He's grown up Catholic and has become an atheist throughout his life. But he told us that because of the love he has felt from the group and how much he has come to love us, he really wants to start reading the Bible with us. And that, I think, has been an amazing testimony of somebody that we've been able to include because of the Explore God series.
We saw kids attend the sermon series because they wanted answers to those questions. And at the time they were nominally Christian, you know, they were around it, they thought they were okay with Jesus. But once they started to hear these clear answers to those big questions about purpose, about is God real, is Christianity too narrow, they started to realize that this was real. And they started to be confident enough to share the sermon series, to share the questions with their friends. And that's what we want to see in the city.
George, one of our key volunteers who grew up here in Hialeah, he was able to actually preach. In fact, it was his first time he's ever preached on the topic, is Christianity too narrow? And we filled this room with his friends and family members, people he had known since his childhood. And for the vast majority of them, it was the first time they'd ever set foot in a gospel-centered church.
We still have people that we made contact with that our volunteers are still following up with. And so it wasn't a one-time event. It wasn't something you go to and then you just disconnect with. This was something that basically created a movement of follow-up, of relationship, of continuous open doors that we can engage with conversation.
Growing up in a broken home with religious freedom, I found that whether I was at home or at school, I could never really discuss religion on a personal basis. Everything said was just about the facts, the science. I was never able to get into the depths of it, find how God could help me and how He already was helping me without me even knowing. That's why when I came to this convention, Explore God Miami, and I heard Ravi Zacharias talk, I found that he finally gave me that factual and scientific backup to what I already had faith in.
As a recent believer and also as a bartender, I hear a lot of questions from people, theological questions, spiritual questions, questions that pretty much everyone has. I have a lot of questions myself. So when my church offered Wednesday night Bible studies on the Explore God, I was really excited because now I would finally get those answers. And thank God I was able to get those answers. My faith was built up from it, my faith in Jesus, my faith in the scriptures, and now I'm able to actually give answers to people when they give me those common questions. To my non-believing friends, to new customers at the bar, to anyone. So now I'm able to share the gospel in a way I wasn't able to share before.
You know, the scripture says that God does infinitely more than we could ever ask for or imagine. And to be honest, Explore God Miami exceeded expectations on so many levels. People ask me, how did it come to be? How did it work out? How can we do this in our city? Well, I just want people to know that it's not always easy. A lot of times you have to step out from fear to faith. There were months on end where the finances weren't coming in, where the churches weren't signing up. We even got a call from Explore God headquarters that hosted these outreaches all over the nation, and they asked us, what's going on and what are you gonna do?
We have a lot of churches in Miami, and all are doing their best year-round to win as many people to the kingdom as possible. But because everybody is acting autonomously, it could be pretty difficult for an organization to pull them all together
I was a little bit concerned and a little bit afraid because I had never done anything of this endeavor, this magnitude, to be able to reach over probably close to 800 churches and ministries in Miami, for everybody to be working together.
Particularly because it's something that hasn't been done in Miami for decades. And I think pulling together an event in Miami that eventually served over 7,000 people was an amazing catalyst to help pull all of the churches in Miami together.
But I can tell you now that I'm so thankful that God is sovereign and that the Lord brought everyone that we needed to be part of the team. It was wonderful to see how the Lord put all those gifts together and people stepped up and owned. And it's incredible to see what an outcome we've had of how many people have come to know the Lord as a result of the 7 weeks and also of the event at the University of Miami.
After seeing what God did in Miami, we are convinced that God can do this in cities all across the world. Maybe God is calling you at such a time as this. We all wonder, so let's explore God together.
I sometimes think about the cross and shut my eyes and try to see the cruel nails, the crown of thorns, and Jesus crucified for me. But even could I see him die, I would but see a little part of that great love which like a fire is always burning in his heart. Evil, justice, love, forgiveness. Every time you raise those questions, you are actually assuming a moral framework, and you are actually assuming truths that only the gospel of Jesus Christ offers to you and to me. For God gives you that moral framework. God reveals to us his justice. God shows to us his love, and God offers his forgiveness. So next time somebody talks about any one of these 4 things, question their answers. Ask them where these answers actually come from. They come from the assumption of a worldview in which also answers the question, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes unto the Father except through me. So the 4 questions are only legitimate if they also answer the same question, why Jesus Christ is the only way to God. So my answer to you today is there a God? Yes. And he's revealed himself in Jesus Christ. It's proved to you and to me by the questions that we ask, and he is the answer. God bless you.